Hey everyone, I'm Tanya Galantine, and this is my co host Caitlin Boardwell. And this is Ladies on the Line.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. This is our fifth episode. We're going to be going over our Foley recap. But before we get into it, we do want to make sure to share for anyone that missed it. We are doing an exciting giveaway with Easton Archery. We're giving away a pack mule quiver. They're doing any dozen of arrows that you want out of their lineup. And then we're throwing in some Ladies on the Line swag. Head over to our Instagram. We have the post pinned. We'll put a link to it in the description. Yeah, make
You
sure you
definitely
enter.
don't want to miss this.
Yes, yep. And we're going to be pulling it at Indoor Nationals, which is what, 2 weeks away, a week and a half away now?
Yeah, ish. Yeah, we'll do a video there pulling the winner. But we're really excited to be doing this giveaway with Easton, and so make sure to go and enter.
Yeah, big thanks to Easton for putting this together for us.
Thank you so much.
And then, speaking of Easton, we just got done with Foley, Alabama, our first 3D shoot of the year. So we figured we would go over our arrow setup that we did for 3D. Tanya, do you want to go over yours first?
Yeah, so I did bear shaft tuning to set these arrows up for this event, and I started out with 28-inch shaft. We're talking Super Drive 23s, 375 spine. I had some and these arrows were last year's arrows. So I didn't have like a full spine to just, or sorry, a full dozen to just cut in different lengths. I grabbed last year's arrows and I had some 28 inches. I had one with veins and one bare shaft. And then I had 27 inches and 26 inches. And I shot all these 6 arrows in the target. And the 28-inch arrow, there was like this big of a difference. I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. 27 inches was like this close. And my 6-inch one was like super bad too. So I picked the 27, but then I put in 140 grains points in there, and they ended up a lot closer. And once I did that, I moved the rest just a tiny bit, and that got them touching. And that was how I found my arrows. So I ended up with Super Drive 23s, 375 spine, 27 inches, and 140 grains in the front.
How far do you do your bear shaft tuning?
I just do 20 yards.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's typical, but I'm not sure if, people knew that or not.
That was a good point to throw out there. I just do 20 yards, so you can do it at most ranges.
Right. But I'm shooting 23s as well, super drives. Mine's spine's a 475 though.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got a little bit of shorter arms. Yeah. Yeah.
I've got incredibly long arms for considering how short I am, because I think I'm shorter than you.
Yeah. What is your draw length?
27 and a half.
Okay. Yeah. So right now with Matthews, I'm shooting 25, just a little longer than 25.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. I wish I could. I'd be all the way back here with my anchor though.
Because how tall are you? If
So there's a debate on how tall I am. This is
Okay, you pick the number that you like.
Well, so there's like some licenses, IDs say one thing, other ones say another. We've done a measuring tape. The measuring tape said 5'4". But then when I'm next to other people that are 5'4", they're taller than me, and they're like, "You're not 5'4", and I'm like, I don't know what to
Or
tell you.
maybe their license is like 5'5" or 5'6".
Yeah, like I have one license that says 5'2". I have my passport says 5'4", but somewhere from we'll call it 5'3".
Yeah, I'm around 5'2", so
Yeah, I would say I thought you were just a little bit shorter than me, but yeah, you got that
yes,
nice draw.
pretty short. But yeah, sorry, I don't even know if you ended up mentioning, but what did you end up for lengths and grains on your arrows?
Oh, so like I said, I'm shooting Super Dive 23s at 475. My length carbon to carbon is 24 inches. My tips are 120 grains. I'm shooting 2.5 Pro flex fletch vanes on there. I just kind of did what I did last year. I feel like Foley is the shoot out of all of the shoots of the year. I feel like I feel the least prepared for. I feel like it's hard to get ready for Foley, and it's easy just to be like, all right, this is what I was doing last year. This is my starting point, and then as the 3D shoots go on, I might make some adjustments. But I mean, I used to shoot skinnies like little just was shooting super drive micros, and then finally last year I switched up to 23s, which it was a good call. But yeah.
For sure. I mean, I know Paige was shooting not skinnies, but she wasn't shooting Super Drive 23s. Gosh, I forgot. She told me the name, but Paige won, she won the Foley event and she was saying that those arrows were just shooting really well for her. So, I don't know. Sometimes skinny mate might be the way to go, you know?
Yeah. I always felt like when I was having a good day of shooting, like I got so many 12s with my skinnies. But like if my day was just a little bad, like not that good, I would just be just around the 12 all day. Like, and that's the part that would hurt is I would be so close so many times, but I would just be missing. And
And then
I think it
it's
was a shoot off that I did where I kept on missing the 12 by just a little bit. And like I got off the shoot off and I went to go sit down to watch the next like shooter shoot. And Cody from Eastham was like, I'm sending you 23s. And I was like, okay. And that was when I switched to it.
you're like, yep, no, I'll take them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried other ones. I've shot skinnies and maybe one day I'll go back to them, but right now the 23s are shooting really well and I practice so well with them. And I prepared a fair bit with what I could, with the temperatures in the winter outside. So I'm not worried about it being arrows or anything, there's so many other aspects to 3D that, like you said, it's so hard to prepare for it, especially because you can't go outside and shoot the animals very much, and makes it hard to know if everything like, you have an indoor range and you can make sure it's good at 20 yards, but is it good at 50 yards too?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
for
yeah.
me this weekend, like I knew my bad shots were bad shots. Like they were no surprise to me. But I feel like sometimes for 3D, there's times where it's like, was I aiming in the right spot? Did the wind blow me? Like there's so many little things that can make effect. It's really hard to determine, like, to really get that setup knocked down.
Yes, and for me, it wasn't like we got there earlier than we normally do. We normally get there Wednesday, and we got there Tuesday, and we had Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to practice. And I was really excited about it because we had lots of time to figure out clarifiers and, you know, size of the peep, and it was pretty cool. And I felt like going into Friday, Thursday, I shot the elite, and I shot my highest score I've ever shot, and I was like, I feel like I'm ready. And then Friday started, and it was like my brain wasn't wanting to do what I want it to do, like, I knew that I only have 20 arrows to make it count, and I really need to go for it and aim exactly where I wanna hit and make a good shot all at the same time, and my brain just said, "Nope, not today."
Yeah. And I think that I mean, we usually get there Tuesday as well. This year we did Wednesday, and I really regretted it. Like, I was like, "Next year we're coming on Tuesday." At least I'm coming on Tuesday. But it's still like, if you really think about it, the number of arrows you shoot during a practice day of 3D is not many at all. Like, you'll
No,
be out there for hours, and you might only shoot 30 arrows in those
I know,
hours.
I've spent whole days there, and I've shot maybe 50 arrows.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "How?"
Yeah, and then I practiced this morning. We're getting ready for indoor nationals now, and it's a 60 arrows per round, 5 arrows per end. And I'm like, I'm tired now. The last week I've only been shooting so many arrows a day because that's all you can get in while practicing 3D.
And I think that's important to think about that that's maybe part of it. I've always been a target shooter, and so, a practice maybe 100, 200 arrows, and that's one day. But how many days in 3D does it take to get me that amount of arrows? And so when I think about how, you know, years it's really taken me to get into 3D properly, I'm like, "Okay, maybe it's not that bad," It took me this and this long to get good at target. Maybe it's gonna take me twice or 3 times as long to get good at 3D.
Right. And I usually like it's hard right now to shoot outside just because it's cold, but during the summertime for 3D, like my practice is normally just shooting at like a regular target, trying to get the arrows in, and then on the weekends, like, we have our local shoots on Sunday or whatever, so, like, Sunday is, like, my I shoot at 3D targets day, but, like, the rest of the week, I'm trying to just get good shots now that we're shooting known. When I was doing unknown, that was a different story because you need to see the targets a lot more and get that judging in, but, like, it's
Yes.
hard to keep. I think if you just shoot 3D all of the time, I feel like it's hard to keep a good shot going.
It is, and that's you have to juggle it because, like you said, we came from Foley, and now International is coming up, so you can't and then Fort Benning is right after, so you can't afford to stay in 3D mode and just shoot, like, 20 arrows a day. You have to switch to indoors and then kinda forget about 3D for a little bit, and then we don't have very long to get back into it after International, so it's like a roller coaster for the brain. It's like
Yeah, yeah. Is your setup, like, very different, your indoor setup versus your 3D setup?
I mean, yes, a little bit. My indoor setup, I'm shooting 27s, so I will have to set the bow back up for that and change everything over. Because right now I'm just you know the deal, you have a favorite bow, and there may be a backup, but you like this bow better.
Right,
So
yeah.
so I'll probably switch this one over to internationals and then back over to 3D, and I know I've done it before, but I don't like doing it's easier if I could have just put it aside and then grabbed my 3D bow indoor bow, sorry, but it'll be fine.
Yeah. That's what I usually do. I usually like to be like, "Alright, I'm just shooting this bow," and then switch everything on that bow. Like, the main thing would always be moving the rest around, getting the arrows retuned. This is gonna be the first year where I actually have, like, a dedicated, like, "This bow is only gonna be for this, and this bow is only gonna be for this," and we'll
How
see
cool is
how it
that
is.
gonna
What's that?
How cool is that gonna be when you can just it's like, "Alright, back to 3D," and you can just pick up the bow and it's already done and set up, and you just have to shoot it.
Yeah, I am excited for that. There is a couple shoots where I'm, like, gonna be going like, I just did I think I'm going straight from Gator to Cup to Minden, and, like, when I was booking flights, like, it just made sense to do that, and I was like, "I'm gonna have to bring 2 bows with me now, I can't just, like, have the one, move the rest when I get there." But, like, it is gonna be nice though, like, just like you said, be able to just pick the one up. My bows are set up very different between the 2. Like, I'm shooting a for 3D, the 34 at 60 pounds, and for indoors is the 36 at 50 pounds. So, like, yesterday was my first day shooting the indoor bow again, and I'm like, when I pull it back, it just, like, whips back, "Oh,
I
whoa,
feel
I'm
like
not ready for that."
probably go up to 55.
Yeah, well, so my short little draw length only go that bow, the 36, only does 50 pounds at
Oh,
my draw length.
no.
Yeah, and
Oh,
that's it. Yeah. I have 70% mods on that one, and then I did 75% mods on my 34 so that the holding weight is actually similar.
hmm,
So it's
that's
not as bad. Yeah, but I think it's just gonna like, today felt a little better than yesterday. I think it's just gonna take a couple days to kinda get readjusted.
for sure, because that's a big difference in poundage.
Yeah, yeah. But then yeah, when we get to outdoor season, though, everything will be 60, and it'll be all good.
Yeah, I'm one of those for this indoor season, I think I shot 55 pounds, and I got to outdoor and or 3D, and I was like, "Well, I can easily set it up because it's 20 arrows a day," so I set it up to 58, and I know it's gonna suck to shoot it for nationals, but I'm just gonna fight through it because now it's at 58 and I'm not moving it.
Yeah. I did have that debate in my head because, like I said, I just enjoyed using the same bow and not have to go back
Mhm.
and forth, and I did debate, like, maybe I should just shoot this bow for indoor nationals, and then I tried 5 arrow ends, and I'm like, "No, I'm not doing this for indoor nationals." There there might be a chance it happens at Vegas because, like, Benning or Vegas is the weekend after Benning, and it's only 30 arrows a day. I'm like, "Maybe I'll do it there," but indoor nationals, I'm not doing the 60 pounds. Yeah.
No, it's I think I can just manage with the 58 because it's 5 arrows and it's gonna suck, but we have so much time both shooting the 5 arrows. Sometimes when I'm done, still have 2 minutes left, so I know I can add in more time between each arrow and take a break, and then it also takes, like, 15 minutes between every end almost.
Yeah. Which I during practice today, I actually told myself, like, "Take your time, because I normally do this just shoot one arrow,
Mhm.
shoot one arrow, shoot one arrow, and, by the time I'm at the 5th arrow, like, you could see my spots progressively get worse. And during practice today, I started being like, "Alright, count 10 seconds in between each arrow. Just, like, make yourself sit here for 10 seconds and then load your next arrow." But, yeah, we
It's
do we do have quite a time.
yes, but that's you brought up a good point. It's so hard when you're at home trying to create that same timeline because when you're at home and practicing and it's very easy to get in the zone because you just shoot one arrow after the next and you never really get out of it. But then you get to an event and whether it's PD or internationals, you shoot one arrow or you shoot 5 arrows, but then it's 15 minutes until you touch your bow again. That's such a hard thing. At least sometimes for me, it's hard for me to get my brain back into it. It's a lot easier for me to just shoot, shoot, shoot.
Right, yeah, you kind of get in this rhythm and, like, it just you get in that flow and it just feels good.
Yes, exactly. It's I know at least for me, it's something I've had to work on a lot over the years where, okay, it's time to shoot again, and I spend maybe 5 to 10 seconds. Okay, this is a plan, this is what I'm doing, getting back into it.
Yeah, and I think for 3D especially, I mean, our course right now is very full. We shoot on the same course as the senior known
Mhm.
pro, and it was around 90 total with us and them on one
Really?
course. Yeah,
That's
on one
crazy.
course. So, and like a lot of us, I think majority are all 5 people per group. Maybe there's a couple of 4. So it's takes a long time out there. And every target is full, and the rule is you're not supposed to move to the next target until the group in front of you is moved. So the problem is everybody's just standing there waiting for someone to move until one group finally goes and, like, pushes, so, like, we all go around. So there is a
Someone must
lot of
do the
time.
trick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. There probably needs to be, like, a bell when everyone's back at the stake. Somebody needs to, like, ring a
Right.
bell and be like, "Okay, let's move."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like there's sometimes these moments where everyone's kinda just looking at each other like, "Are you moving? Are you moving?" Like, just and finally someone just needs to break it.
Yes. Sometimes I do it, and sometimes it wasn't the right time, and I'm like, "Sorry, guys, I'm just crowding you."
Yeah. So, for me, like, if I'm having a bad day of shooting, I do it even more because I just wanna get done shooting.
Just
So,
wanna
like
go to
yeah, so if I start joining your group, like, if you're in front of me and I'm joining your group, like, really fast, it's just not going well for me because 'cause I'm like, "Alright, move on, let's go."
Maybe at that point, we need to just make a joke, maybe try to lift your spirits.
Yeah.
So what's your biggest hurdle with 3D? Like, mine, as I talked about a little bit, is the mental part of it. It's easy for me when it's target, but when it's just that one arrow, it's hard for me to get into the zone. What's your
So 3D is definitely, like I'm most confident in 3D out of all of the shooting styles, that's where I feel like I do the best. I think I have a hard time, and I noticed it this weekend. When things aren't going well, I tend to just try and fight it and just keep going instead of realizing, like, maybe I should change something to help it, which, like, this weekend I had awful sleep, like, the full week going up to it. I track my sleep and stuff like that in HRV, and everything was really low, so I knew my body just wasn't 100%. My aiming was, like, pretty bad. Like, that's something I really struggled with this weekend was my aiming just was not good, and like I said, I knew a lot of shots when they broke right away, like, that just wasn't good. That wasn't where it was supposed to be. It wasn't until the 2nd day, halfway through the 2nd day, that I changed some weight around, and I finally, like my aiming got better, and, like, actually this second half of the 2nd day was actually, like, good, but I was way too late to, like, make any, like, movement on the score or whatever, but, like, I'm just so bad at recognizing at, like, 5 targets in, if things aren't going well, make the change right then, don't wait till the very end to make a change instead of, like I said, I just kept on thinking, like, "It's me, my shots aren't good," but, like, make a change that's gonna help that, even though it is me, do something about it, but that's something I struggle a lot with.
I think that's such a good point, and I honestly do too. When I struggle too, I like you said, you tend to just fight it instead of just being like, "Maybe it's not me, maybe I can add half an ounce to my back bar," or move it out a little bit, just anything that can make it.
Right, and even like I said, even though I know it is me, try and recognize the things like, "Okay, when I'm doing this, this at least tends to help it to make it better." And I'm like I said, I'm really bad about change. I'm not good about it, I don't like it. But, like, once I finally make a change and I'm like, "Okay, I should have done this a while ago." But
If you ask anyone that knows me, I'm not a huge fan either. I prefer to set my bow up once and then just shoot that for the rest of the season. And I know that's a bad idea, and so I don't most of the time. I make changes if I need to, but that's my preference. I would just shoot instead of changing stuff all the time. I just want to
yeah.
shoot.
Yeah, me too, and I feel like, with my shooting like, there's obviously things that you can do with setup that are gonna help, but the biggest flaw of my shooting is myself, and, like, that's why I wanna do more shooting. Anytime I have a new bow come in, like, it's exciting, there's a new bow, I don't wanna set it up. I don't wanna go, like, waste part of my day to set this bow up, I just wanna shoot the bow that's already set up and, like, work on what I feel needs the most work,
I can
but
just snap my fingers and have the bow be set up. That'd be
yeah,
great.
me too.
You said before that you tend to blame yourself more than the equipment or anything, and I think that's the thing most women tend to do is we blame ourselves first every time. And I think we can learn from the men just a tiny bit. And don't tell the men because they don't need to know this. But they tend to blame the equipment every time. And maybe we should too. Maybe we should be like, no, it's not me. That was a good shot. I know it was. What can I make better on my bow so it doesn't happen again?
Right, yeah, and like I said, that's something I keep working on. I've noticed from me now versus me 2 years ago, I am a little more meticulous about my setup, and I do a lot of my own setup. I'm starting to get a little more like, it needs to be like this, or it needs to be perfect, where I used to be like, "Yeah, like, it's close enough, like, that's not gonna make that much of a difference," but it does. Yeah.
Yes, and it's funny when you start to understand more about how bows work and how setting up works and everything. It's you're also understanding what's happening when you're shooting, and when things aren't right, you know what it is to fix.
Right. Yeah. I think that's super important.
Mhm. Oh, for sure. So, with that said, is there anything you want to change for the next ASA? Any big changes?
Um, not quite yet. It's hard, like we've said, we didn't shoot that many targets. The weight that I did move around, I'll keep it like that for now, and see for the next one. I'm hoping to shoot some more 3D targets and shoot outside before the next one. But like I said, my bow setup ended better after I moved the weight around from where I started. So I've at least got it at like a better starting point now. Hopefully I'll get some better sleep next time, which, I think our bodies do. I mean, especially women, our bodies change so much from month to month. But I think it has a huge effect on how we shoot. So I just knew going into it, like my body does not feel good right now.
And
But I
that's
think
such a
it's
hard thing to change because you can only do so much to get it better on the day, you know?
right, exactly. It's kinda like this is which, it was good to learn, like, maybe when my body is feeling good, like, I put my bow back to how it was, and when it starts feeling crappy, I know, like, okay, these are the changes I can do that are gonna at least help it. But as of right now, the bow's gonna stay like it is. Like I said, it's gonna be cool. I can just pick it right up and use that one for 3D, but yeah. Is there anything that you're gonna change from this one to the next one?
I'd like to change my brain. I think I just need to shoot more one arrow ends. And again, I don't like doing it because I want to shoot all the arrows, but I think that's what I need to do a bit more in the days leading up to as much as I now can.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the goal. And maybe just being more focused at the event. It was so frustrating. The kind of day that I had, like, we started on a 50-yard on the first day, 50-yard Wolverine, and I smashed a 12. And I was like, sweet, let's go. And then next one was a 34-yard. It was some brown animal, I think, or something. And I shot an 8. And I'm like, it's 34 yards. You just smashed a 54-yarder. Why are you hesitating on an 8-yard one?" And then we had, like, a 49-yard javelina, mast it, and then a 29-yard, I can't remember what it was, 29-yard turkey maybe, and I shot an 8, and I'm like, and that was my weekend, and I'm like, "What am I doing?" It's it's like my brain was so focused on the long ones because it knew it had to, and it made great shots, and then as soon as we got close, my brain was like, "Nah, you don't need to, it's short," and then I messed it up. So I think that's my goal.
Yeah, I've had, like, issues with that a lot in the past, like, the short ones, you underestimate them, and you kinda just you don't focus as hard, you just make a quick shot, and you're just not putting in all of the effort that you should.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. It's sometimes the easy ones that are supposed to be easy, but they're easy to mess up.
Yeah. It's funny how you said your start, though, like, my first arrow was also 12, and I had the same, "Okay, it's gonna be a good weekend,"
Yeah.
and then the very next arrow was an 8, and I'm like, "Okay, no, it's not."
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were both humbled so
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's 3D, we all go in there with these big dreams of what the weekend's gonna be like. Yeah. But the cool thing about 3D that I really like is that even though that first one could have been an 8, the next one could have been an 8, you're still not out of it. Was that in Vegas? Gone. Weekend over,
Yes.
So I like that about 3D. I'm like, "Okay, no, I can still do this." I just keep smashing the 12s and
Right, and I have that same exact thought, and, like, after the first day, it wasn't a good day, and I was far from the leaderboard, but in my head, I think I was, like, 10 points, around 10 points from the leaderboard, or from first, but in my head, I'm like, "For 3D, 10 points can be made up in a day." Like, I can still shoot an amazing round, like a lot of us out there, like, we can have an amazing day and shoot an amazing round, so it is cool, like you said, like, you're not in your head, "I'm out of this," like, there's still a chance.
yes, and I think that's so cool. That's kinda what makes you come back on that 2nd day is like you, I didn't have a great first day, but it also wasn't awful. I was like, "Okay, it's fine, but I definitely need to do better Saturday to make the shoot down."
Right.
And unfortunately, I didn't. I had 2 identical days, and I just did not make it.
Yeah, that's exactly how mine went.
Mhm.
What'd you, think of the courses we had this year? I don't think we're usually in the back there, I feel like that's the first time we've shot back there.
Yeah, I can't weren't we there last year? I think we were.
Were we?
Yeah.
Then I'm not remembering right then.
I think they put us back there for when they did the 60 yards for the men.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and I think they've just kept us back there, but they still have the pro practice range, which is kinda nice because then in the morning, first thing, I'll just go to the pro practice range, and then it's literally a 20-yard walk to the range, and I love that.
Yeah. So the pro practice range though, like from the vendor area is super far. On Wednesday, I went to walk down there, and it was later in the day, like, it was getting close to the end of the day, and it's such a far walk, they don't have tractors running yet on Wednesday, and I was literally, like, 50 yards from it. I'm not seeing a person around, I'm not seeing signs or anything, and I'm like, "Must be they don't have one this year," and I walked back.
No.
Yeah, yeah, and the next day, we got on the tractor, and they're like, "Alright, we're gonna stop at the pro range," and I'm like, "There is one?" And then they stop and we get off, and I'm like, "I was 50 yards from it. I was
Oh,
almost there."
no. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
so sorry.
yeah,
I honestly didn't even realize they had one, but Braden was, like, adamant they did, and I was like, "Okay, I guess we'll go down," and there was one, but otherwise, I honestly wouldn't have realized it was there.
yeah, I think they started that last year. They didn't have it at Shreveport just because they don't have the space, but I think they had it on all the other ones,
Yeah.
if I remember
I just
right.
for this one, I think it's cool because, like you mentioned, they had us in the back where it's a lot darker than all the other ranges, and the normal practice range is in the open, and so you're gonna be able to see a lot more on the animals, it's gonna be a lot brighter, and it's so much nicer to go to the pro practice range and have the same lighting conditions that you're gonna shoot during the tournament, so you can actually get your clarifiers and peeps and everything sorted, and you know what you're gonna be able to see when, the event starts.
Right. Do you change from 3D shoot to 3D shoot, do you change, like, lens and clarify or anything?
Not normally, no, but so before this event, we had just bought the Stack It Peeps,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we just put it in before we left, and we were testing out all the options because 'cause we're like, "This is really cool. What do we need? What works?" And it it just took time to put, the different options in and test them out and be like, "Okay, what if I do this or this?" And then yeah, so it just took us a couple days to test it out and be
yeah.
sure.
What power are you using right now in your lens?
Power, gosh, I changed it so many times and it's embarrassing, I don't know. So in the scope, it's 6 power,
Okay.
but in my peep, so my clarifier and then it's called a verifier. Gosh, it's embarrassing, I don't know because I literally changed them
Yeah,
100 times,
no,
and I can't remember which ones I ended up with. I'll have to check and we can put it in the caption.
yeah.
Um, because gosh,
Yeah, no, that's understandable. I change a lot of stuff around with my peep, but I usually keep the same scope power from shoot to shoot.
yeah, scope
Yeah.
power is the same at across target, 3D, field, everything.
Yeah, that's the same for me. I also do a 6 as well.
You also do a 6. I think
Yeah,
6 is pretty common. I've
I
heard
think
some
so.
5s, some 7s and 8s, but
Yeah. Usually
I
if someone's running an 8, I hear they at least go down to a 6 at London.
I don't know if Paige does. I think she just rolls with the 8 for everything.
Can you, like so I hear the guys talk about, like, how they can see 10 rings and stuff like that. What can you see when you're looking at the target most of the time?
Most of the time, so if we're talking 50 yards, I wanna be able to see core rings.
Yeah,
If we're talking, let's say it's the black cinnamon bear, all I can see is the top of the core, and it's usually near the upper 12.
yeah,
But what I'll do is I'll kinda sorta aim off, like, I'll know how far to aim off to hit the upper. But as we get 35 and under, yes, I wanna be able to see the 10 ring. And sometimes, if the lighting's right, like 30 and under, I can see 12 rings too. But that that depends so much on the lighting. And a lot of times, sometimes the 10 ring can blur out a little bit and I'm going for arrow holes or oh, there's a light spot there or a darker spot there, Just
yeah. So I
what
feel
about
like I
you?
feel like I see, like, core line pretty much all the time. Like, I always see the
Mhm.
core line.
Yeah.
Once which I haven't paid attention like you were saying, like, at what distance I can start seeing the 10 ring. But at short ones, sometimes I can see the 10 ring. Like you said, it depends on lighting a lot, but, like, majority of the time, I'm going off of dark and light spots is typically what I'm trying to pick out and go off of.
Mhm.
And then you start to get to learn the targets a little bit too, like, okay, the black bear tends to be kind of around this area. But I just get so envious when I hear the boys talk because I feel like a lot of the time it sounds like they can see the 10 ring, like, majority of the time. I'm like, "How are you seeing that out there?"
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if they just their eyes are so much better than ours or if they're lying. And
Yeah.
I'll never really know. We'll
And so
never find out.
I know there is a thing, like, because their draw lengths are longer than ours, when the lens is closer to the target, further out like they have it, it does magnify more. Um And which my brother actually, he shot my indoor bow a couple weeks ago, and then we had the same exact power lens in there, and he says, like, when he looks through his scope, the side like, alls he sees is, like, on the 3 spot, he sees pretty much just 1 spot and then maybe a little bit on the outside, and he said when he pulled back with mine, he's like, "Oh my gosh, I see so much more." Like, he sees I see, 1 spot, I see a portion of the other and a portion of the other, and, like, I didn't realize how much. Because in my head, like, their draw lengths are quite a bit longer, but realistically, they're only adding, what, maybe at most 6 inches of our sights being different, but, like, I feel like that actually does add quite a bit.
And it's crazy. You'd never think like I understand that draw length matters, to arrow build and speed and all those things, but you'd never think it mattered to that much. But it's crazy that it does. And that's one of those advantages that we'll never be able to change or have because our arms are what they are.
Right, yeah, yeah. We've gotta acclimate.
Yeah. It's all we can do is make the best of what we have. But speaking of what you can see in 12 rings and all that, do you prefer to shoot upper or lowers? Why?
Definitely uppers. I feel like
Which is
I
pretty which is not very normal for women.
yeah, I feel like if I am going to see some type of something to aim at, it's usually near the upper. If I'm gonna see a ring, it's going to be the upper. I think the way that the target is, the way the light reflects on the how the target is beveled maybe or whatever. I think a little bit more light does get on the upper. I just feel comfortable aiming at it. When I started out shooting ASA, I did do lowers, and then I started all my misses were low when I had a miss. So then
Uh-huh.
I started going to uppers, which it was a little weird at first to get to aiming at them. But after a while, aiming at the uppers now feels extremely comfortable. And like I said, I feel like there's more for me to see to aim off of. The other thing I like as well, like you said, most women do the lowers. I don't like when there's an arrow kind of close to the 12. 'Cause, I do sometimes, like, if there's an arrow just underneath it, I might just add some clicks and aim at the arrow. But I have a hard time when there's an arrow, like, maybe it's just a little low left. I'm like, "Oh, I can't really add clicks because 'cause I'm still gonna be left side," and, like, you're fighting, aiming off of it or whatever. So I actually prefer either being an arrow right underneath it, like I said, I can add just a couple of clicks and aim off of it, or just no
Mhm.
arrow at all. So it is nice that most of the women do go for lower, and I have that upper opened up pretty much most of the time. I did, which this last weekend, a lot of my misses started to be high, so I did start to go for lowers. I was just, I had to change the strategy for the day, just how I was shooting that day, which did take away some eights that I would have had if I didn't go for the lower at that time, but majority of the time it's uppers. How about for you?
It's the same for me, and I started out the exact same way you did. I started on the lowers, and I realized it might not have been the smartest play, because of how I shoot, I dip bang a lot, so you don't wanna dip bang into an 8, possibly a 5. But also when you're actually looking at the targets, a lot of the times the upper 12s have so much more 8 before the 5 compared to the lowers.
Mhm.
So if you do have an accident, there's so much more 8 to play with, where a lot of the 12s, you have this much to play with. So just trying to be smart about, and like you said, you can see them more. They're all, a lot of times there's more light on them, and some of the animals, the way that they're angled, even if they're standing straight sideways at you, the lower is weirdly angled in the armpit, kind of. And so it's just, I started out lower because that's where I felt comfortable and realized I might feel comfortable, but it's not the smartest move point wise. And over the last 2, 3 years, I am pretty much going for uppers unless it's not the smartest move because there's arrows that don't, that are in the way or whatever. And it took me like a year to get comfortable with it. And now it's fine, but it did take a while. Actually, a funny story about glance out from this weekend. There was two arrows in the upper in our group and there was one in the lower. And it was one of those days where I hadn't hit exactly behind my pin because it was a little all over the place, and her knock was right in the 12, and I'm like, "I'm just gonna aim on it because what are the odds I'm gonna hit it? Because I haven't so far." And I hit her knock and her pin and glance out in a 10, so I was happy. It didn't go in an 8 or anything, but my arrow, not hers, mine blew up. So my arrow hit hers, blew up, hit the 10, the point flew out and hit the 10, like, almost in the upper 12, and we had to, like, dig it out with pliers, and I'm like, "How does that happen?"
No way. What kind of, like, pin was she using pin knocks, you said?
Yeah, it was some sort of pinnock, I can't remember. So it was a gold tip arrow, so I don't know very much about their what pins they
Yeah.
options they have, but it was just crazy.
That's insane. I've never heard that happen before.
Right?
Yeah.
I texted Braden and he was like, "Wait, what?"
Uh,
Yeah, it was kinda crazy. And I was like, "That was my good arrow," you know? You know that when you have one arrow that you really trust and you just know it's gonna hit?
so my dad from, like, a very young age, I used to have, my lucky arrow. when
Uh-huh.
I was little, and he, like, banned me from having a lucky arrow. He's like, "Do not have a lucky arrow," because he's like, "When that arrow breaks, you're gonna be sad, and, like, you're gonna not have the confidence in another arrow." He's like, "You're not allowed to have a lucky arrow." So, ever since I was a little kid, I just stopped doing that. I'll just that morning, I'll look through my arrows, and I'll pick one for the day, and be like, "Alright, this is the arrow." So just, check it over and make sure there's no, like, nips
Yeah.
in the veins or whatever, and I like to make sure I'm shooting the same arrow the entire course in case, I notice that something's going on and it might be the arrow, but
Mhm.
yeah.
And I'm assuming before you get to the event or at the event, whatever, but before you start scoring, you go through all your arrows and you probably, knock test them, group test them, whatever, and make sure that all the ones you have in your quiver are gonna
Yeah,
hit.
I like to always spin them too and make sure they're all spinning good and everything, but yeah. I was actually my plan was to originally use the arrows that I had last year, and our arrows get beat up shooting 3D, like,
Yes,
beat up
they do.
good, and I was looking at the not even a dozen arrows that I had from last year, I might have had, like, 9 left over, and I'm looking and I'm like, "Well, this one, the veins are ruined, this one," like, every single arrow had something wrong with it. I'm like, "Alright, I need to make a new dozen of arrows," which for me to make arrows, I hate making arrows. I hate fletching because, like, some people do it so quick, the glue sets really quick, but, like, you're supposed to wait 10 seconds for the glue to set. And in my head, I'm like, "Well, I have 10 seconds to do something then, and then I gotta do something, and then that just takes a long time, and then I it just takes me such a long time." So I was, it was only a few days before time to leave, and I'm like, "I need to make a whole dozen arrows in a day," which that's pretty big for me. And I made my whole dozen arrows and I shot and we can shoot 40 yards inside, which is pretty nice. My very second end, I was shooting a one spot thinking like 40 yards, like I'm okay. Shot my second end, I smashed into one of my arrows, completely mushroomed it, and I'm like, I had a full dozen for 2 minutes. And then now I'm down. Yeah, I posted it on Instagram and I learned, an archer's dozen is actually 12 or 11 arrows, so that was something new I
Yeah.
learned.
I believe it might be 10 because
Okay.
I just made a new dozen before this event too. And when I was cutting them, the back part of it, accidentally, I wasn't holding on to it properly because I'd gotten a little, yeah, it slipped, and then the arrow saw cut the arrow all wrong, and I'm like, oh no, and so I couldn't use that arrow. And then next time we shot, Braden like Robin Hooded my arrow, and I'm like, great, I just fleshed him, and now I'm down to 10.
Yeah.
And then I broke one at the ASA, so now we're down to 9.
Yeah, there's a reason we, like, text Cody so often to get new arrows all the time.
Yeah. 3D events are hard on them. It's just when there are so many good shooters, which the women's class has gotten insane. The fact that 30 up was the cut for the shoot down was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, when there are so many good shooters in a class, it's just gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. And also, I mean, like I think we mentioned before, there's also 5 of us in a group too, which that's just gonna open up more. We're hitting each other's stuff and makes it hard, like you talked about before, calling the uppers or lowers, like you're having to look how many arrows are in there. Can I squeeze mine in or do I have to go for the lower this time? Because that's what's open. But
Mhm. But yeah, it's so much more a game sometimes of where is like I want to go upper, but there's already 3 arrows in the upper and they're all covering it. Should I try to squeeze in there? Would it be smarter to just shoot bottom?
right, yeah. And when I used to shoot skinnies, I used to not really worry about it because they always would just like squeeze in.
I could
And I
imagine, yeah.
learned yeah, it was actually great, but I learned really quick with the 23s, and I made that mistake once this weekend. I thought, "Oh, I've got enough room," and I didn't and got kicked out into the 8. But you gotta be picking upper or lower, you gotta be smart about that decision. Like, we're saying, like, upper is our preference, but, like, sometimes you gotta be smart and go for the lower sometimes.
Absolutely. And so I think that's one of the reasons it's hard to get comfortable in it because you can't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna go upper and everything," because then you get to one where I'm like, this one's not gonna work. So you can't just, sit back and put it on autopilot.
Yeah, and I noticed also this weekend, there was a lot that weren't just sitting straight, there was a lot of quartered
Yes.
targets. And the ones that were quartered away, I went for the lower just because of the way the angle was. It really made, you know, I the size of the 10, like, smaller a certain way, so I'm like, "Oh, if I miss right, there's a lot more 10 for me to catch, like, going down the target." Whereas the 12, there's only this much 10 here on the left, and, like, it turns into 8 quick, so I went for a lower for the ones that were quartering away just to be a little safe.
Yeah, and that's I think for me was one of the things I thought about too, because there was one of the sides where you were shooting a tunnel, but then the last 10 yards of the animal was out in the open, and there was wind coming, in one direction. So you had to be smart and be like, okay, I want to shoot the upper, but that's in the wrong direction of where the wind is going. So if the wind's going to push me out, it's going to push me out into an 8 instead of a 12. Sorry, instead of a 10. So maybe I need to go lower to hopefully stay 10 if it does push me out, or maybe it doesn't because back where we were standing, you couldn't feel the wind, but sometimes it did hit my arrow.
Yeah, which I when we switched to that side, I did have that similar thought of, like, we don't feel wind in here, but that target is out in the open, and there's a chance there's wind out there, and I'm trying to look at the leaves on the edge, like, figuring out, like, what way is it even blowing? So they figure out what way is gonna be the safe, yeah.
And that's so hard to know when you're standing inside this, kinda tunnel thing, and yeah, you just have to be super aware of it, and if your arrow goes in a direction you weren't expecting to, be like, "Okay, maybe it wasn't me," "Maybe I should be aware of the wind," and because 23s move a fair bit with wind.
Yes, yeah. How fast is your bow going, do you know?
I can't believe I forgot to go up to the, what's it called?
The chronograph?
Yes.
Yeah,
Check it. So I actually don't know. Usually it's around 255. Usually my bow is really slow, and it might be a little bit slower this time.
okay,
Cause my arrow, yeah. So I don't know. I usually
yeah.
have a really slow bow. What about you?
So it's going to 71, which is the fastest I've ever had, so
Amazing.
yeah,
How'd
I'm
you get it
excited.
that fast?
I don't I'm so excited. But yeah, for 3D, I don't think it matters as much. There's times where it can help, like the wind, if there's a wind situation. Majority of the time where Foley can be windy, but I feel like most of our shoots were pretty covered. But yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my bow's pretty slow. I'd love to get it faster, but somehow with the way my body's put together, it's really hard for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I am shooting known and speed always helps. So I'd love to get it faster, but
Yeah.
it's not everything.
Yeah. I think it's more important that you feel confident in how it shoots and how you're shooting with it versus trying to, doing too much poundage for what you can handle just to get the speed better or doing things like I debated once, do I want to lengthen my draw length to get a little faster? And it's like, no, I rather have it feel right and shoot right just because the speed, like you said, helps, but I think a good shot is more important.
It is because no matter how fast your bow is, if you make a bad shot, it's not gonna it's not gonna help.
Right, exactly. How did you as far as, like, distances we had this weekend, do you feel like it was, like, average or
This weekend, I don't know if it was just me, but it felt a little short sometimes, like they were being nice to us. Like we don't always have some that are like 24, and there was at least two in the 20s, and I'm like, this feels like a trap.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I like once in a while having a short one just to gain some confidence on. Didn't help this weekend, but normally it does. But it definitely wasn't one of the longest courses we've had.
no, no, I think that our first day, it was maybe, like, average, but our second day, I definitely felt like it was on the shorter side.
Yeah. And that's, I think, what I heard from a lot of the boys too. They also shot crazy high scores
Yeah,
on that range.
yeah, they did great. I'm always jealous when they're done, I'm like, "Man, I wish I could do that."
I know one of the men walked by us and I was like, "Are you guys done?" He's like, "Yeah." And we still had 5 targets to go.
Mhm.
I was like,
It
"Oh,
happens
man."
every single time, yeah, yeah.
Yes, it does. Maybe one day we'll be fast.
I think I'm gonna throw some stones at the senior pro right now, but I think as
No,
long as we're
they're gonna
I think
hurt you.
Yeah, I think as long as we're on the course with them, I think we're gonna stay just where we are. But I love seeing them on the course and talking to them, so it's all
Yeah,
good.
they're awesome people.
Yeah, they are. But
Alright.
I don't think I have any more questions. Do you?
No, I don't either. That was kinda sorta my recap of all that happened.
The good and the bad.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully the next one for both of us, we'll be able to talk about the shoot down
Yes, yes,
because we were
hopefully.
in it.
Yeah, crossing fingers.
But everyone, don't forget to enter the Easton giveaway. You have about another week and a half, and then we're gonna draw a winner. So don't forget.
Yeah, good luck to everyone that enters.
Yes. And we'll hopefully see you guys in nationals.
Bye.
Bye.